Welcome into the crease. Before we get into all that good hockey action that you want to hear about, I want to give a big shout out to one of our affiliates, and that is Dubby. That is right. If you are a big energy drink fan like I am, and you need that mental focus with none of the jitters, none of the shakes, and none of that sugar and multidextrin, none of that shit, Dubby has got the energy supplements for you. They got all kinds of flavors. I've already had the Beach and Peach. I got the Calia Cream, which is the orange creamsicle flavor, sitting on my shelf right now. I use it every morning before I go to work. It is phenomenal. I cannot recommend them enough. Go to w.gg and use the code THEHOUSECALL, all caps, no spaces, THEHOUSECALL, to get 10% off your order. You can also use the link in the description of this video. That will also get you 10% off at w.gg. They also have hydration supplements. That's right, people. They don't just have caffeine stuff. They got hydration stuff. So if you're like me out in the sun playing soccer, that's why I look like I'm all red like a tomato. I got sunburned, didn't put sunscreen on. Not very smart. But you know what I did have? My hydration supplement from Dubby. So I was not dehydrated on the field, although I was getting sunburned. So go to w.gg, use the code in the description, use the link in the description, and go get yourself those caffeine and hydration supplements that you deserve. Now, we're going to start off on a high note. I want to start off talking about how it looks like there might be a light at the end of the tunnel for the Arizona Coyotes to finally have a stadium that is not a college stadium. Right now, they have a proposed arena to fit 17,000 people. That is 3 times the amount they're getting currently at ASU's hockey stadium, the Mullet Arena. An additional 1,500 additional temporary seats for non-hockey events, 150,000 square foot practice facility and headquarters, 400,000 square foot retail multi-purpose watch party plaza, and 3,000 concert goers can sit in the live music arena they're going to have built, plus a 170,000 square foot canopy extending from the arena to the theater, and much more, including 1,900 luxury residential units, 400,000 square foot of Class A office space, branded retail, dining, and other amenities, all going north of Phoenix. But there is a caveat here. Scottsdale, the mayor of Scottsdale, blasted the Coyotes arena plans in Phoenix. He believes that it is too close to Scottsdale, and he demands that Phoenix supply the utilities. Scottsdale wants nothing to do with it. So even though the Coyotes seem to be on the go here, finally getting their stadium, there is still pushback from the local community and some of these mayors and things like that, saying they do not have the surplus to supply such a facility when it comes to water, electricity, power, things of that nature. And it seems like another freaking brick wall the Coyotes are going to have to fight through every single time. But I think this is going to happen. I think they're going to get it. And if you've not seen the pictures of what this stadium's proposed to look like, this whole area, it looks phenomenal. I think this is going to be huge for the area. I think it's going to be huge for the Coyotes. It's going to be huge for Phoenix. This makes sense on all sorts of levels. However, when you do start to put into things like utilities, you do start to put in, the strain it's going to put on a town like Scottsdale, maybe not so much Phoenix, it starts to put a little bit of a damper on my expectations. So, Ian, do you see the current Coyotes plan, which is a $68.5 million, 95-acre parcel of land in North Phoenix, that is going to have a chance to be bid on at an auction on June 27th? Do you see that going according to plan and the Coyotes finally taking the first step to get a new arena?
I think that is kind of the first step. Maybe, I have to see it. We say like is this the first step? They've had a lot of first steps. I mean, the first step is putting it out there. That may even be the second step, because the first step is you got to come up with it. The problem I see here is they've had so many first steps that have blown up in their face that I just don't trust them. And I think that's reasonable, because they've given me no reason to trust that they'll get this done. Like, what have the Coyotes done over the last decade and a half other than make it to the Western Conference Finals one year in 2012? But that's beside the point. What have they done organizationally that has given you any faith in them at all?
I mean, realistically, and some of it I wouldn't even say is their fault. I mean, as far as facilities go, the Gia River Arena in Glendale didn't renew their contract. They got kicked out of there. They've been trying all of these different things to try to find a new place to live, and it hasn't worked. The hockey team, players don't want to be there because they don't have the facilities. Who wants to go there as a free agent? Who wants to be traded there? Nobody. They're playing in a college arena. I mean, there's certain points in time where you can blame ownership. We look at Ottawa, we look at some of the other teams that we've been shitting on for quite some time.
Ottawa's a little bit more than ownership, and
yeah. But you look at it, you don't see those things in Arizona, and you see. The players that go out there want to play. They've had some really good young players come out this year. They've had young talent. The young talent just doesn't want to be there because who wants to get ready? And I'm not going to talk bad, say ASU's facilities aren't great, but let's be real, they're not NHL level. They're a college for a reason, right? They're a college for a reason. So you don't have players that want to stay there, and that's another problem. But and the thing is,
one of their players called them an embarrassment a couple years ago.
Yeah,
and they're right too.
They are. You have a professional sports team playing in a college arena, and they have been for 2 years. But then you look at it, right, and you look at like what the mayor of Scottsdale said, right? He called it, as it stands today, the fantasy. That's what he said, the fantasy hockey project.
It's what happens when you don't build goodwill. That's what happens when you don't build goodwill in your city. And that's what happens when you have consistently bad ownership. It's what happens when you run your team like a clown show. It's what happens when you don't pay your bills at Gila River and you get kicked out. Gila River was at least an NHL facility. I get being in Glendale isn't exactly convenient because you're traveling south through Phoenix. I've been to Glendale and I'm staying in Phoenix, and it's not exactly the easiest trek. It's not exactly the easiest trip. I think it's like 45, 30 minutes outside the city. And who's going there on a weeknight when it would be exactly who's going there? What residents in Glendale want to go to watch a Coyotes game when the team is probably going to be bad? And who's coming from Phoenix to watch that on a work night? If you want that to succeed, put them in downtown, put them in Phoenix or Scottsdale, which is 15 minutes away. And the mayor doesn't want anything to do with Scottsdale. Granted, because assets, I think it's water assets.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure they're trying to bid on private land in far East Phoenix. And if it's in the Phoenix city limits, then David Ortega, the Scottsdale mayor, can go suck it because it's not your city. So
yeah,
they're on private land. They're in Phoenix, so it's not like you have a say in the matter.
Yeah.
If they're not in Scottsdale. So if they get this done, it's best for the Coyotes and really best for the NHL, because in theory, the Coyotes should work. If you have the idea of the Phoenix, Arizona Coyotes should work because you're in a large market, you're in a growing market, people are moving there from the north, and you have the way the team's being run, you've got a good young and up-and-coming team that should be exciting to watch. The problem is the execution has been downright horrendous since the get-go. So it's really been a miracle that they've survived this long because, to be honest, if this was almost any other team, they didn't tolerate this from Atlanta.
Nope.
They didn't tolerate this from Winnipeg the first time around.
Nope.
They didn't tolerate this from who else am I thinking? I'm sure there's others. They didn't tolerate it from Hartford. The Whalers were playing out of a mall, and they moved to before they moved to Carolina. So
it's crazy too, because it's what's wild is that we keep seeing all this stuff. Oh, we want to stay in Arizona. Arizona doesn't want you. No place in Arizona Glendale didn't want you. Phoenix is like, hey, you can buy your own land. You can bid on it. But
burn that bridge,
right? And then you got Scottsdale, and what's crazy is that the mayor of Scottsdale didn't even just stop at saying, calling it a fantasy hockey project, right? And then this is just a pipe dream. He called it not feasible and not welcome.
It's almost like you haven't built goodwill.
And then he goes, a rookie. He calls it. It just goes on. He goes, a prospect of a rookie developer attempting to buy Arizona State Trust land with absolutely no infrastructure on the Phoenix side of Loop 101 and Scottsdale Road intersection at the doorstep of Scottsdale is not feasible or welcome. I admire the hockey sport, Arizona Coyotes community involvement, and phenomenal youth clubs at Scottsdale Ice Den. But I, along with the city of Scottsdale staff, will continue to monitor any actions that occur. and negative repercussions for Scottsdale. So basically what he's saying is that if this affects the city in any way, they will kibosh it. Like 100%. And I don't blame them. I'm not saying I blame them. But at some point in time, you got to cut bait and leave.
Like, my thing, though, is if you wanted this project to work, you should have built goodwill with the city and the surrounding areas with good ownership in the past, and they'd probably help you out. What this tells me is that they don't trust your organization because you have dealt unfaithfully, you've dealt badly in the past, and what's to stop you from doing it to them?
And, it's true, too. It's kind of crazy that they chose Glendale in the first place because of, the commute issues. They kind of alienated themselves. It wasn't a good move. I think that built up some animosity in the area, as well as, the poor performance of the team. I think that you coupled that with, obviously, an owner who has been somewhat standoffish in his ownership. And then you look at, where they could be if they just did a little bit of legwork here. And like he said, like the mayor of Scottsdale said, they have a great youth involvement, great community involvement from the team. But that's not enough. Like, there's clearly some issue going on behind the scenes with ownership here, with the choosing of how they do things and all of that sort of stuff. And I don't know if it's going to go any way that's going to be positive for Arizona. I just don't. I think that we have been on this for a hot minute. If this doesn't work, if for some reason, Phoenix doesn't want to give the utilities, Scottsdale doesn't want to give them utilities, specifically water, how Arizona's, most of their water comes from outside of the state when it comes straight down to it. Most of their power comes from outside of the state when it comes straight down to it. They're in a bad spot. And it's all fun and well to try to bring, a large 94-acre kind of facility into the mix. But if this one fails,
they're done.
I think the Coyotes' best bet is to be anything other than the Arizona Coyotes. I think that you have to leave. And, it comes back to what's the best city to receive you. Atlanta is an option. I don't see it being much better. They do have, the area for them. And I think, like, your best bet is going to go to a place that has a basketball team, a stadium that you can share, that you can retrofit at the end of the season, get it squared away so you can have a hockey rink as well as a basketball stadium. And you could play, you think about teams that don't have a hockey team right now that have a basketball team, right? You look at
I'm thinking they go to Salt Lake City, to be honest with you, because I've been seeing a lot of stuff like Ryan Smith, the Jazz owner, wants a hockey team in Salt Lake, and he's been interested. And I think I saw a report, this may be wrong, I saw a report that Alex Mariuello was interested in selling the Coyotes. You've got a willing buyer, and you don't have a stadium right now in Arizona. You've got a place where they can go. All you got to do is make the renovations. So
yeah. And you think, like,
they'll go back to Phoenix too. Like, it's not like they won't try to go back there. You can go back there, just find a building, build a building first, and find a good ownership group instead of keeping it. Look, the NHL's problem is that they've tried to keep the NHL ownership group NHL people. And that's a problem because then that creates a boys club mentality of, we can run it like a country club because we can go drink and smoke a cigar with these guys, when instead they haven't found anybody that's willing to operate it like a business. And you have a mess like Arizona that has been a complete tire fire since the 90s, and it's been a failed experiment because of it was never the idea of Arizona that was bad. It was the execution. An idea is only as good as the execution of said idea. And the Coyotes have proven time and time again that they cannot and will not execute well, and the NHL has had to come in and babysit them. And the NHL has handled this as poorly too. Because if the NHL was smart, they would move them to another location, they would see a jump in salary. The Coyotes wouldn't be hemorrhaging money, and they wouldn't have a problem. But instead, they've insisted that at this point, it's just about ego now. At this point,
Something.
It has to be something like, we have to prove this right because we just cannot be wrong.
You know what's funny is that, you know, you mentioned Utah with the Jazz, and they could easily play in the same stadium, do some renovations. You know, it'd be cheaper. You could renovate that building. The Jazz get some updates. You know, they get a hockey rink in there as well, so they can have, you know, multiple games. Schedule gets a little funky. You know, you got to figure that out on the back end. But you know, you think about that. You think about OKC. Oklahoma City's got a pretty new stadium. They got a good fan base.
We're getting a brand new arena. We're getting a brand new arena in I think it's downtown Oklahoma City.
Yep, be perfect, right? And then you think about some of these other places. Be perfect, right? So you could get a brand new stadium. You could kick in some extra couple $1 million, have it convert, you know, be able to convert into a hockey rink.
I think they're going to make it I'm pretty sure they're making it multi-purpose for a purpose of a hockey team and an NBA team and other venues. It's not just a basketball arena. Clay Bennett, get on that, please.
And then, you know, I don't think Tennessee needs another team, but you got Memphis is right there. You know, you start thinking about some of these other places that could easily. Yeah, Houston's a good one. You got the Rockets
Kansas
right there.
City.
Kansas City. I mean, I don't think Kansas City's got a basketball team, but you can move to Kansas City. I mean,
they've got the Sprint Center.
They do. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's plenty of other places you could have played. You could have gone to. You could have done something. And I think that if this fails, that has to be on the docket. They cannot play till 2027 at ASU, which is what that contract goes to, without having a for sure idea or something already in the works, right? They have to have something concrete done, ready to go, that says by 2027 we'll be playing in a state-of-the-art stadium, whether that's in Arizona or somewhere else. And at some point in time, they're either going to have to force him out as owner, which we have seen multiple other leagues do. If there's a problem with ownership,
just won't do it.
They have to force him out as owner, or he's got to accept the fact that his time in Arizona is done, and that team's got to go somewhere else and sell the team, or he's got to move him. He's got to make that choice, and it has to happen. I would love it to happen if we don't find out anything by June 27th. If it comes out that they don't get that land, or it's Scottsdale's got to foot the bill and they're not going to do it for the utilities, there has to be a follow-up within a week. Otherwise, I am going to be I will be honestly leading the charge for the sale of the Arizona Coyotes to someone who is going to do that organization justice. All we have time for today. Obviously, our next show will be breaking down all of the playoff matchups. We cannot wait. It's going to be a great time. We look forward to recording that episode, getting all of the playoff matchups out to you, our fans, hockey fans everywhere, breaking it down and picking our winners for that series. Also, I want to give a big shout out to all of our affiliates. You can check all of them out at our website. Click on the affiliates link. That'll take you to our link tree. All of our affiliate listings are there. You can support the podcast. Check out all of our brands like Lids, sportsmemorabilia.com, Ticketmaster, or StubHub, and all the other ones we have. Be sure to like, follow, comment, and subscribe on all of our social media platforms. That's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and Spotify. That's right. You can take us on the road. Take this sultry voice with you everywhere you go. Be sure to listen to us, and we'll catch you next time here on